Take it away, Gary.
Well, welcome to another MotoQuest Fireside Chat. My name is Gary McKechnie. I'm the author of Great American Motorcycle Tours and the moderator, I suppose, of several MotoQuest Fireside Chats, and they're always exciting because they always make me want to get on a bike and go. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to try to get your tail wagging and point out some new directions that you can go with MotoQuest. We're going to be talking to Phil Freeman and Lynn Brown, who are the founder of MotoQuest and a lead guide for MotoQuest. And we're going to talk today about the best of Baja, and that's from Southern California all the way down to the southern tip of Baja, California in Mexico. And that's a ride that takes you through some great desert solitude, sunny beaches, there's warm temperatures, and best of all, for some riders, it's the authentic Mexican cuisine. So I'd like to introduce now Phil Freeman, and I'd like to ask Phil to tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, how you got started with MotoQuest, and a little bit about your experience. And here's Phil.
Thanks, Gary. I started a company called Alaska Rider Tours in 1998 up here in Alaska, and it morphed into MotoQuest about 7 years later. So we took a regional motorcycle rental and tour company that only did Alaska, and now we go global. We do over 20 countries. We offer around the world all the time, and we also have a fleet of about 70 to 80 motorcycles that live between 4 different rental locations up and down the West Coast, from Anchorage, Alaska, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, and Long Beach, California. And I feel very blessed to be able to ride with people from all over the world and share a common passion.
Fantastic. And, you know, I was going to say, Phil, if you're watching this and you just listen to what Phil had to say, that is exactly what you need to do. And I think most motorcyclists know that. You have to follow your passion. That's exactly what Phil Freeman did. And look where it's taken him now. And it's also taken our next guest, Lynn Brown, around the world. So I'd like to have you meet Lynn Brown, who's the lead guide on this ride, the Best of Baja, but he also goes other places around the world. So Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with MotoQuest, where you go, where you like to ride, and then we'll segue into the Best of Baja.
Well, I guess first I'd like to thank everyone, especially Phil, for letting me be part of a fantastic organization. I'm going to back up to my teenage years real quick, and we'll accelerate forward. When I was about 15 or 16, there was this wonderful girl that was one of my neighbors in high school. I did not have a car. I wanted to take her on a date. You know, I lived on a farm. We had the tractor or the farm truck, so I bought a motorcycle. Fell in love with the motorcycle, lost the girl, but anyway, that turned out to be the best of the best. So I've been riding motorcycles since teenage years. Moved forward to probably about year 2001, 2002. I went to Alaska. I rented a motorcycle from Phil, had a fantastic time, really enjoyed meeting Phil and getting to know him, and I just started talking about my experiences of motorcycle riding around the world. And Phil and I hit it off, and the first thing we did was, let's start doing some things together. I have the honors of being the lead tour guide in the Southeast Asia part of the world. I run the tour from Vietnam's and Laos both. Fantastic place to go. You know, we do the Isle of Man every year, which is at May and June, which is the holy grail of motorcycle riding. Fantastic place to go. I'm already looking forward to 2017. You know, I'm excited to go back already. But Baja has just been a passion of mine, and if I kind of date myself, back in 1972, I rode the Baja for my very first time on a little 175 Yamaha Enduro, and I've been doing it ever since then. Probably 15 to 20 trips up and down the Baja so far. Anyone that has any inclination to go there, please go. It is a fantastic place, very diversified, wonderful people. The cuisine, even the fried beans are pretty good down there.
Well, Lynn, that's fantastic, and we're going to be alternating between you and Phil as we discuss the best of Baja. And you know, it's interesting when you said you know, you were dating yourself. I remember I did a lot of that in high school. But anyway, so we'll talk to Phil and Lynn, and then at the end we'll take your questions. But I'd like to start with Phil by posing probably the basic question is, why Baja? Why did you select this region as a place where MotoQuest riders should explore?
Well, when we started renting motorcycles out of Long Beach, California, that's a long ways away from my home of Alaska, you can only just stare south and wonder what's going on down there. Especially during the long winters of Alaska, it's very appealing to go down there. After a long talk and maybe a couple adult beverages with Lynn Brown, he told me some great destinations down there, so we ended up formulating a scout trip that took us on a 15-day odyssey down the Baja, all the way down to the tip to La Paz, and then we took a ferry over to Mazatlan and continued to Copper Canyon and had many wild and crazy adventures with a great group of riders. But ever since then, that first experience on a motorcycle in Baja, I'd been down there before camping. It appeals to your adventure senses. It's right at the doorstep for us. It's literally right there where you can drop into a third world sort of environment where it is friendly, the food is organic, there's open country, and in the middle of the winter you can have sandals on and sand between your toes and a cold cerveza and very good food and warm smiles around you, and all of a sudden you are traveling. And it's funny how quickly, how close that destination is.
And so, Phil, can you tell pretty much when you cross the border that you're in another country, that you're not in the USA anymore?
Oh, it's immediate. Anybody who's ever been to Baja, I think that's why they go back more and more. There's a change of entire atmosphere when you cross the border. And you feel it, you smell it, you can hear it, you are in it. And it's also incredible how fast you acclimatize to that environment. And you are already like almost 2 stoplights down the way, you're already in the moment, and all of your fears are dissipating because you realize that you're living your dream. It's right there. It's easy.
And Lynn, when you're leading this tour and you're with a group of riders, and say it's day 1 or day 2 and you've crossed the border, do you sense any trepidation from your riders that they think, well, hey, I'm sort of like letting go of my lifeline with America? Are they excited about it, apprehensive about it? What are some of the emotions that you see?
You know, when you do cross the border, the first thing you do is do the paperwork and you know, the tourist card and then the vehicle paperwork. It's really exciting. You know, you go in and you fill out documentation, you present your passport, you give them a couple of dollars, and they give you some paper back and said, you know, welcome. I got to tell a little story about Phil, just a 2-second story. He was driving the support vehicle for us on our scouting trip, which means he was driving the truck and he had a trailer behind him. When he came across the border, there's some speed bumps across the border. We were all waiting for him. We were happy. We were in Mexico. Phil was coming along. Well, the tailgate on the trailer flipped open, scratched, brake, you know, kind of made a whole bunch of noise coming across the border. All the federales came out and they stopped Phil and said, you know, fix your tailgate. So anyway, that was our introduction. It broke the ice like you would not believe, and I think, you know, maybe next time we should just let that tailgate drop open again. Wonderful experience. Then when you get, you know, first experience in New Mexico is Tecate, and Tecate is a wonderful little town, you know, south of Julian, California, and it's a fantastic ride from there across to Ensenada, you know, kind of up through the rolling hills and the beautiful horse ranches and the pottery making, and you know, just the smells and the whole feel of everything. You know, you're not in the United States. It's a wonderful experience.
Now, I'm going to open this question up to Phil or Lynn. And how would you like to describe the preparation for getting ready for this ride? Someone is going to go to MotoQuest.com and they're going to look at all the rides you offer. After hearing this, they'll probably click right on Best of Baja and start looking into this. And as they get ready and they gear up for this ride, what do they need to do in advance of day 1 and arriving at the MotoQuest location where you're going to depart, and what happens on day 1 as you ride out, and about how many riders are going to be joining you on a typical trip?
Okay, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and answer this. We have, you know, about anywhere from 8 to 12 riders. We take no more than 12 motorcycles on any one of our trips. Many people end up bringing their own motorcycles on this trip. What they need is to make sure that all of their paperwork is done properly. We lead you through the insurance. We make sure that everybody is legit going across. All the papers are presented at the border. It's relatively seamless. And one of the services that we offer, this is a one-way trip. So there's a one-way we end, and everybody flies out at the end of the tip of the peninsula. And that's where we have the arrival of the next group. And now your motorcycle, your personal motorcycle, for example, if we have space on the trailer, which we generally do for 2 to 4 motorcycles, we'll go ahead and cart your motorcycle back to Long Beach for you. So you can ride one way and fly easily back to the States and get on with your life, but your motorcycle will be safe and sound at our shop in Long Beach. This itinerary is all pavement too. That's important to note because a lot of Baja is off-road and sandy and great, but we are going to stay to the pavement on this one and smell the roses a little bit.
That's great. And now, Lynn, I'm going to toss it over to you. Why don't you take us, now we'll go through, say, a day-by-day chronological itinerary of what you're going to see from point A to point B and then point B to point C. But why don't you take us on that first day's ride, and you're crossing the border, and how far are you going to ride on that first day, and where are you going to end up?
Well, thank you. I'll actually start in Long Beach. First of all, the evening before everyone gathers to Long Beach, we have a welcome dinner, and it's a very nice introduction to everyone. Find out a little bit about the background of all the riders, where they're from, who they are. Next morning, we do the motorcycle assignments. Everyone goes through the familiarization of the motorcycles, gets all our whistles and bells in order, and then we leave Long Beach, and we very shortly, leave the freeways, and we go over an area called Ortega Highway, which cuts us over. In fact, in the photo you're seeing Lake El Sonora from a place called the Outlook, and going up the El Sonora, or going up the Ortega Canyon Highway, it's just a wonderful, great little experience. And when you finally stop up at the Outlook, it's an old kind of a watering hole up there. Everyone just kind of is beginning to really relax and get into it. Little background: Lake El Sonora. Honda made a great motorcycle named after that. Steve McQueen used to run around the shores of Lake El Sonora, so you're actually living history right there. We end up the first night in a little town called Julian, which is kind of a little bit of a mountain town in Southern California. Wonderful little accommodations, fantastic food. There's an outstanding Italian restaurant there. Day one, wonderful day, not too long of a day. Day two, and I'll kind of run through this quickly. Up early, some breakfast, short distance down from Julian to Cotty, do the border crossing. Border crossing formalities usually take about an hour or so. We do money exchange. We always like to have the Mexican peso currency there, even though we can use the American credit card, and most places will accept American dollars. But my feeling, when you're a country, use the currency of the country. And next stop is Ensenada. Ensenada is a little seaport, kind of a wonderful little town there. Usually have a lunch there. There's a wonderful old cantina there called Cantina Husong's, and that was a watering hole for the old movie stars like Marilyn Monroe, and even Steve McQueen's got his name written on the wall there. And then we continue on down to a place called San Quintin. San Quintin is an old British facility from the 1800s. And the hotel is right on. So I will stop. That's day two.
Okay, so that's day two, and it's interesting, Lynn, as you're describing this and pointing out the pictures, and I'll ask Phil. I would imagine when people get on the MotoQuest journey that they're away from their comfort zone. It's also a pressure release valve from the typical work that they probably do and all the pressures of work. Do you see friendships forming on the first day or in those first few days where people are just coming together and bonding over this adventure that they're embarking upon?
No doubt. The reason join one of these organized is for the social aspect. Incredible people that show up with a common bond. And they come from all over the world. By about day 4, everyone's laughing. There's an inside joke. Keep going. That's great.
Okay, and I also noticed, and I'll pose this to either Phil or Lynn, the photography. Those pictures just make you want to jump right through the screen and get on the saddle of a motorcycle and just be there. Who is taking the photographs? Is there a professional photographer assigned to the group, or is it the lead guide who is taking those fantastic pictures that people will be able to take with them when they get home?
We collect from everybody. At the end of the trip, we share them. That's what we're there for. Is for the memories.
Fantastic. Now, we've already gotten to day 2, I believe. So, Phil, would you like to tell us about day 3? Where are you going from Ensenada?
Sure. After Julian, going to Tecate, which is a very relatively simple border crossing. We're in San Quintin, and we start heading south from there. We go on to Bahia de Los Angeles.
Bahia de Los Angeles is actually on the Gulf side. When we leave San Quintin, we run down the Pacific coast side. It's the beautiful panoramas of the Pacific coast and the crest out there. Then we run up through some big, beautiful boulder areas, which I see it's an area where the giants would have been playing marbles, in the old days and stuff. And then we cross over to the east side of the Baja. This is way up north still, and we end up in Bahia de Los Angeles, which is on the Sea of Cortez, which is the photo you're seeing right now. Fantastic, wonderful beaches. Just a wonderful little place to stay that we're at. And usually, after dinner we build a fire in the fire pit out there, and we sit around having some beverages, and it's a real relaxing environment there.
Can I add something there too? It's in the morning. The traffic is like this: the sun rises slowly, a dolphin goes by, a pelican, a seagull, barracuda, dolphin, something like that.
Yeah, wonderful.
That's really amazing. And, Lynn, as you describe where you're at and what you're doing, and Phil, you're saying you're going to the east side of the Baja, for a lot of Americans, this is, like you said, it's sort of a third world / foreign country that we don't know a lot of the history about. Lynn, I would imagine, is the lead guide. You're probably also the armchair historian who's filling in the riders with what happened in an area. Is that correct?
Well, the history of the Baja actually goes back into the Jesuit area, and they actually founded missions up and down the Baja, obviously for conversion purposes. But the original locations of the missions were about a day's burro ride apart, which means we can hit a few missions along the way. A number of those missions have survived, and they're really, really wonderful. So you're going back into something that's in the late early 1800s. Kind of when the western part of the United States was just being kind of founded by pioneers. So there's a long, long history back there.
Great, and that's interesting that you say that. Me being from Florida, you can look at St. Augustine and then go to Tallahassee and then go to Pensacola, and there was a complete Spanish mission trail going across the state, across the Panhandle, and each mission was roughly like a rural day's journey apart. And so there's a string of missions across Florida, I guess, now the same way I know that there's a string of missions down the Baja. Mm-hmm. So that's fascinating. History, scenery, and the social aspect of this. That's a hat trick as far as I'm concerned. So now we're still moving south, and where are we going to go next, Phil?
Phil, do you want me to jump on this here a second? If you don't mind, I'll just take a quick read of our itinerary here. What we do is we depart Bahia de Los Angeles. The road is fantastic as you run down the central spine of Baja, especially the Pacific Ocean comes into view over your right shoulder. We stop for lunch at a famous restaurant in Guerrero Negro. The sea bass is just second to none there. Guerrero Negro there's a large lagoon there. There are quite a few California gray whales that come in there, but it's noted for its sea salt processing. So you're kind of in flat country there. It's, I think, one of the second largest natural sea salt production facility in the world. It's just a unique place. And then from there we continue on down to San Ignacio, about 90 miles south of there. San Ignacio is a date palm oasis. There's a lake there. There's thousands of date palm trees. We stay in these fantastic yurts right in the heart of these date palms. And the owner of the yurts, yeah, there you go. That's pretty rough living in the Baja. I mean, it's just breathtaking there. The town has a typical square in it with the mission on one end. The mission is a 1692 mission or something like that. We do stay there, a couple of nights because that affords us the opportunity on the spring tour, on the January February tours, of actually going out to the San Ignacio Lagoon and experiencing the greatest thing you could ever do in your life are the whales. And we get up close and personal with the whales. Actually, we've actually petted them, and it's a very moving experience, to say the least.
I'd also like to say, too, we do 2 nights there, so there are several options. In our groups, some of them want to see the whales, which is a world-class experience. However, for those who are okay not seeing that and just doing some exploratory riding in the area, yes, we can ride all the way from a fishing village to a goat herding village 5,000 feet in the Sierras. And it's off the beaten track a little. It's a little off the grid. You won't see open signs in front of little cafes. You'll literally be knocking on doors and just asking if there's maybe a place that someone wants to fix you lunch. It's the real Baja. It's open country, real desert. A carpet of desert is out in front of you, and you have a bit of solitude. It's really wonderful.
Lynn, when you two talk about what you're going to see in the sea salt and the date palms and the goat herds and knocking on somebody's door looking for food, this sounds like it could be Lawrence of Arabia. It sounds like you could be in the Middle East somewhere. And to me, that sounds terrifically exotic. Again, a lot of Americans, and probably myself included, sort of look at the Baja Peninsula and just think, okay, it's a strip of land and it's all desert and cruise ships go there. But what you're describing is really filling in the blanks for me in letting me know there's a lot more there, and I would hope that people tuning into this fireside chat recognize the diversity that they're going to find there. And Lynn, I'm going to go back to something else you said. You talked about the sea bass that they serve there. Tell me about your favorite restaurant along the way. Is that the place? Is that your favorite restaurant?
Well, hands down. I have had the opportunity, I think probably 20 years ago, to introduce myself to that restaurant. And, I love the Mexican food. I mean, it's fantastic. But when I get there, it's just, it's over the top. And yeah, right, there you go. And if you're ever inclined to eat some wonderful food, that's the place to do it. A little interesting thing, again, about Baja, when you leave Ensenada going, which is in the northern part, you kind of leave the tourist zone. And you don't get into the tourist zone until you get down to La Paz. So you're in the interior, which is, it's a little bit, cowboy country, so to speak. But that's where the real Baja is, and that's where the wonderful people are. We do stay in wonderful places that are very civilized. We eat wonderful food, but yet the experience down there is the true Baja. It's not all desert. It's wonderful mountains. It's the bays. This is down out of Mulahey a little ways. Fantastic. I mean, I can't say enough about the Baja.
Well, let me ask you one quick question. What is the total distance from Long Beach down to the tip of the peninsula? How many miles do you ride?
It's about 1,100 total one way.
Total one way. And Lynn, I would imagine you're now a familiar face to the people that you see along the way in the hotels and in the restaurants and at the attractions, I would imagine.
Well, it is, and we know all the gas stops. The gas is a little critical issue and stuff, but we always stop in a little place called Rosarita, and there's a restaurant called Mama Espinosa's, and Mama Espinosa just passed away a few years ago, but she was very instrumental in obviously the Baja racing and stuff like that. That's one of the checkpoints. But the Doctors Without Borders, she was very supportive of them, and actually got the Doctors Without Borders to start coming into the interior of the Baja, and they still come there. We have a fantastic lunch there. You see the refrigerator with all, Parnelli Jones signatures on it, Steve McQueen's. I mean, it's an era that's still there.
And the fact that you're one of the lead guides is something that you just can't put a price on to go there with somebody who knows the terrain, who knows the turf, who knows their way around. I mean, obviously, someone could do it solo, but why risk it? So it sounds like just a great perk to be able to go with someone like you, and Phil with the whole setup, and plus your friends around you, your newfound friends, to do this together. Well, let's jump back to the itinerary now, and I've lost track of what day we're on, but I'm sure you two remember. Where are we headed next after we've watched the whales and we've knocked on a stranger's door asking for food?
Well, go ahead, Phil. I was going to say, after our rest day in San Ignacio, which is a great place, that's about almost halfway down the Baja at that particular point. From San Ignacio, we have this fantastic ride through the mountains in the morning. Again, we cross back over to the Gulf of California side, and we end up going into a town called Santa Rosalia. Santa Rosalia is a copper mining town by a French company called Bolio. Interesting thing there's a small church in the middle of Santa Rosalia that's just breathtaking. It was actually designed by Gustav Eiffel for the 1889 World's Fair. The Bolio company bought it, and they brought it over. There's your church right there. It's a prefabricated church, and that's a Gustav Eiffel church in the middle of Baja. And there's a bakery there, too, that just really tweaks your taste buds, too. The copper mine had closed a number of years ago. Now it's back open again. It's a very popular town, very clean town. I've stayed there many, many times, and I can't get enough of that. And now I have to pay my homage to Gustav Eiffel every time I go through there.
The ride that day it's one of my favorites because it does go along the Sea of Cortez. You have striking views of beaches, islands, the beach lifestyle. The ride is fantastic. You realize how mountainous the Baja is and how open it is. You really start getting a feeling for the desert and the timelessness of the desert. Now, we finished that day in the town of Loreto, and you'll be having a sunset cocktail right at our hotel. You'll be staring at the Sea of Cortez. There you go. And imagine that for the evening. Nothing wrong with that.
And I'm sure, Phil, in the middle of an Alaskan winter, you're probably thinking of this place often. So, hey, here's a quick question, and before I forget, as you're going along, some people like to buy souvenirs, my wife in particular. What if you find something along the way? Do you find people like buying pottery or artwork, and if so, is there a way to get that back home if they think, hey, this is something I really want to take with me?
Yeah, no problem. We have a support truck with us, Jethro, and so fill it right up.
Great. Okay, so you've had your sunset cocktail. You're now living the life. You're completely detached from the world back home in the United States. The sun sets, you say goodnight, you wake up, and where are you headed the next day?
We're headed to a town of La Paz. And the first out of the gate, it's one of the most remarkable stretches of road up and over the Sierras. Beautiful. And then Baja stretches out in front of you. You have a few straight sections, and they do know how to do that down there. And it's all desert, and we end up in the little port town of La Paz, and there you are. That's your next destination, from sunset to Margarita poolside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. We could close up this fireside chat and just meet there, in a few hours. That would be fun. I mean, my tail's wagging already. I mean, that looks like a great group. And I see a woman there. Do you have many lady riders joining you on these trips?
Yeah, we always have about 40% female participation. Either they're riding their own bikes or they're sitting on the back, and they love it. They absolutely love it.
And who's that real handsome guy on the right-hand side there?
Oh, that happens to be yours truly. One other thing too about the ladies. Several of the guys, in fact, I see Dwayne. He's a guy with the glasses on the left there, fabulous guy. His wife actually flew down to La Paz and spent 3 or 4 days with him. Several of the other guys' wives flew down, so it was a win-win for everyone. Guys can ride down, have a ball. When they arrive down there, we stay in this wonderful little beach resort right in San Jose del Cabo, a fantastic place. And when the wives show up, everything's okay. The guys are happy. They've made points.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's a very important lesson, because I think at this point in life, probably the riders who are going on a MotoQuest tour likely married, and it's just something that guys like to do. Of course, women like to do it as well, but you don't want to leave your wife for too long. You want them to share in it, and so I'm glad you figured out a way to make it work for everybody. And that looked like a fabulous. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I would just say in that particular group, we had one lady with us that had never been on an organized trip before. She was a little bit worried about a bunch of guys, and why wouldn't you? Because guys get stupid when they're together. But she was actually our princess. We all took care of her. We all came around her. We were all her brothers, and she pulled me aside at the end of the trip, and she said, "I had a wonderful time. This was far and above better than I thought. I would do it again in a heartbeat," is what she said.
That's Phil. That's a great testament to you and to what you've created with MotoQuest. Is to make people comfortable and feel safe and take care of their needs when you're on a journey. Again, when you're letting go of that lifeline in going to a foreign country, which you literally are. And so, Lynn, take us now to the next day. You've had a great time in La Paz at this beautiful resort. And how many days left? Are you now over the hump? Or are you getting toward the finish line?
Yeah, we are near the bottom.
For just a sec, Lynn, if it's okay.
Okay.
We changed it from last year, so we just have 1 day left. We'll be going from La Paz to San Jose del Cabo. So it's the last day up and over the Sierras. We take a side road, and we end up at our beachside resort in San Jose del Cabo. And that is our last day.
Now, Phil, you just said something. You just said you're going up and over the Sierra Madre, I believe. Going over mountains, being from Florida, where there are no mountains, except maybe they're 180 feet tall. What is it like riding over those? A lot of twisties, a lot of switchbacks.
It's wonderful. Lynn could fill us in too. It's just a wonderful ride from La Paz to San Jose del Cabo. It's fantastic. It's all curves. It's all elevation changes. We have to hunt down a restaurant where basically mom's in the open-air kitchen making tortillas for us. It's fantastic. By this time, you have really stretched your legs. You've come almost 1,000 miles on the Baja, and the time has now slipped into your blood, and now you are on Mexican time. It's beautiful.
Incredible, incredible. Lynn, what could you add to this last? Oh, I'm not sure if
there we go.
If Lynn can hear me, that would be great if you could just fill us in on your thoughts of the last day's ride.
Well, the last day, it is really up and over the mountains, and it's a beautiful ride. And as a guide, I'm always looking in the mirrors of the motorcycle. By that time, we are a unified group of people. We're all, we're choreographing this road, this twisty, windy road, and I'm looking at, the bikes right behind me and the trailing bikes behind them and so on and so forth. And, you kind of maybe turn the throttle on just a little bit, and, these guys just step up to the plate and they have a great time. And, then finally you come over the last rise, and the tip of the Baja is just a sand from end to end. San Jose del Cabo is the adjacent town to Cabo San Lucas. They're about 20 miles apart. Cabo is where the big cruise ships come in, a little bit wild and ruckus. San Jose del Cabo is the wonderful old mission type town. It's the full experience, but it's not party central. And that's why we choose that. And nice way to end up the day, a little beverage on the beach and unwind.
And this is a question for both of you, for Lynn and Phil. Lynn, you're up on the screen now, so I'll ask you first. Of the rides that you've done on this 10, 11-day ride, what is one special memory that stands out to you that sort of encapsulates the whole experience of the Best of Baja? Is there a moment that really strikes you as unforgettable and that you'd like to share with the folks who are watching this?
Probably the most just awe-inspiring view, riding conditions, historic, everything else is the day we leave San Ignacio and we cross over into Santa Rosalia where the Gustav Eiffel Church is, and we continue down the Cia Cortez side. The bays down there are just breathtaking. I mean, you want to stop and just stay there. And at the end of the day, we end up in Loreto, which is this great town right on the beach there. I mean, of all the days, that's number one. But it's really hard to put that number one because all the other days are very, very good too. But that's my number one.
And have you had a rider come up to you and just express something to you that sort of told you this person's life changed for the better over the last few days?
I have that quite often, and not only on the Baja tour, but on a number of tours. The Isle of Man, I mean, when you see the motorcycles come through there, it's unbelievable. Southeast Asia, the beautiful scenery of the lush green, jungles and stuff. You put it all together. I look at Baja. I mean.
So, and now, Phil, I'm going to ask you the same question. I mean, you've had the good fortune to organize this, to create this group in these rides around the world. But specific to the Best of Baja, is there a moment that stands out for you as something that really resonates and captures the feel of that area, that region?
Yeah, I would say the day out of San Ignacio, where you have the choice to go see the whales or go on a ride. And we do have a few photos from the day ride, and for me, that was the reason that you would go to Baja, to see little out of the way fishing villages with boats lined up, and just working villages that are not on the tourist trek. And then you turn around and you climb to 5,000 feet and into the mountains and the Sierras, and suddenly you are in Baja complete. And that is what we all try to do, is go to that special place when we choose to go on one of these trips, and that takes you there. San Ignacio is definitely a great. You could stay longer than 2 days, easy.
And Phil, I'm going to ask you this question: when you get to the end of the ride and you're at the very tip of Baja California, you arrive there and you've got 8 or 10 riders there, the motorcycles there, and you've just completed this adventure. What is the mood like? Is it celebratory? Is it a relief? Do these people are they pumped up? Are they hugging? Is there laughter, tears? What's going on?
I would say there's all of that. I think there's a sense of accomplishment, not only for the individual, but also for the group. And you can see the chemistry of the group bring everybody. There's such a heightened sense of group awareness. There's the inside jokes, like I said, that build day to day. There's new friends for life. And also, these people, when you get on a motorcycle ride, you're at your best. And everybody knows it. It's kind of like motorcycle therapy. You take a chance and you go to a place that's unknown, and we all are on adventure together, so we're all helping each other, and the camaraderie is palatable, and the friendships are forever. It's a wonderful experience. And what I think the Baja does is, there's some trepidation to cross the border, and once you break that seal and go across, you realize that everything is just fine. And why didn't I do this sooner, really, is the question, because you're world traveling right there, and it's at our fingertips. It's a great way to.
That's very well said. That's very well said. You painted a perfect picture. Now, Lynn, could you add to that in your experience because you've reached the southern tip of Baja California several times. Now, how do you feel when you get there, and what do you notice in the other riders? Is it similar to what Phil described?
Well, obviously the sad thing is to always say goodbye to the people you spent the last week with. you get very close. I mean, you around the campfires you joke. You have lots of great stories to tell each other. You kind of learn a few inside things about only you and your newfound friends would learn. The the fun thing for me is I don't have to get on an airplane and fly back to wherever, to the USA or to South Africa or wherever they're going to. I look at the motorcycle and said, this is the turn point for us. I get to turn around and do this and go right back up the Baja again. And when we take people to the airport, they just kind of look at me and they say, God, you're lucky SOB, and stuff. So that's, that's my experiences down there. And a little emotional at times when you say goodbye to these people that you really, really become very close with.
I can imagine that's a pretty dramatic event when you have to say farewell and they go back to their lives and you go back to yours. Well, this has been enlightening for me, very eye-opening for me, because again, I was not aware of that region, of that area, and what it has to offer. But it seems very exciting. So Phil, could you tell the folks who are watching this the best way to take the first step to get involved in this ride? Where should they go? What should they do? What steps should they take to start planning this for a ride with Lynn?
Okay, well, the first thing you got to do is decide to go. That's the biggest, and actually follow through with it. And a lot of people ask, what are they getting? Why would they come on a tour with us? And in our tour package, we enroll everybody in global rescue, everyone that participates in any one of our tours globally, so that if anything should go wrong, if someone should get hurt on the way, you have a flight service that will take you anywhere in the world immediately. And we have sat phones with us, we have a support truck and trailer, and we have the know-how to get you to the closest airport and get you to help as soon as humanly possible. And that is the number one. You have that support when you go with us. So if you really want to join us, which we hope you can, you simply go to MotoQuest.com, go to the map and click on the Mexico area of the map, or scroll down a little bit further and find the Baja windows, and click on one and read the information, and there'll be some call to action buttons that say book now, and that will change your life. And we have people that have tried it for the first time, and they will never stop doing it for the rest of their lives, because what they realize is that they have friends on the other side. We all take care of each other. We're all in it for the passion, and we want to have great memories. And they simply filled out the book now, and they are smiling ever since. You are headed to Baja.
Perfect. And Lynn, I'm going to pose a quick question to you, and we'll wrap things up, I suppose. Richard asks, he sent in this question: do you recommend not eating refried beans before riding on bumpy dirt roads? And I'm sure that's a burning question.
I laughed at that question when I saw it. The refried beans down there are second to none. I mean, that's just part of the cuisine and stuff. But if my solution, if you do overeat, we're probably going to put you at the back of the train. We're not going to let you be up front there. And we like clean, fresh air and stuff. So no, feel free to eat all you want. I've never been sick in the Baja, and I obviously we drink bottled water and stuff like that. But I eat the cuisine, from the streets. You find the vendor that's got the line of people there in front of them, and that's who you go eat with. But the food is just second to none, from the seafood to the Mexican food to the burros to whatever and whatever.
It just sounds like a magic journey, and boy, I hope to take advantage of that someday. And as we wrap up, I hope the folks who are watching this online, just start to plant that seed, and just start thinking about how life can be improved exponentially by taking a chance and doing something like this. A lot of us tend to put things off, thinking I'll do this when, I'll do this when, I'll do this after, if this thing comes to fruition, then I'll be able to take a ride or take a chance or do something I really want to do. And I've learned, and I've said this before, life is a one-way trip. I mean, you're not going back that way anymore. You're only going in one direction, and the time to act is now. So whether it's the best of Baja or any one of MotoQuest's several rides, just go to MotoQuest.com and start picturing yourself in that picture where you'll be on a motorcycle and you'll be the person who's doing it. Because once you do it, once you throw your hat over the wall and you've got to go after it, boy, that's when things really start to happen. Yes is when the magic happens. So start saying yes to opportunities like this, and your life will improve dramatically. I guarantee it. Lynn, I'd like to give you a last word, and then Phil a last word, and then we'll say so long. So, Lynn, what would you like to add? Anything?
Well, I'm just thinking, you know, we run the tour in the fall and the spring. If you live in the northern hemisphere of the United States, you know, you're either going to see the snowfall or you're going to be shoveling it. So which option do you want there? Do you want to, you know, walk with, you know, sand in your feet and nice warm water, or do you want to sit there with a snow shovel? I know where I'm going south, so come and join us.
There you go. And Phil, you get the last word. You're the boss.
Well, I would say T-shirt weather at 9 o'clock at night, the brilliant carpet of stars all around, clear, and then in the morning, pelican, pelican, dolphin, dolphin, and then curves all day. Is there anything wrong with that?
Not from where I'm sitting, not at all. And I think the three of us are extremely blessed and fortunate to be able to do what we do for a living. I write about motorcycle touring, and I go on motorcycle tours. Phil and Lynn do the same thing, and now it's your opportunity to do it as well. You can be one of the people who are actually living, not just existing. So check out MotoQuest.com and look for this and other Fireside Chats by MotoQuest, and your horizons will start to expand. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm Gary McKechnie. That was Phil Freeman and Lynn Brown talking about the best of Baja. Thanks very much.
Thank you.